right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf. IRGC fires ballistic missiles camouflaged in containers from the warship. So one of the big threats right now is Iran. Of course, if you have seen some of the eerie videos that Iran has actually put out, including armies of men singing just absolutely eerie songs about essentially being the guardians of Rafah and the guardians of Palestine, essentially saying that they're, you've lit a fire, you've woken a sleeping giant, which ironically is, what they call America. And as far as the container weapons here, these are systems we've talked about for years. And of course, it is a very scary weapon system because it can hide in plain sight. These container weapon systems look just like any other container that you would use to, say, transport a car or transport TVs via a cargo ship. So it is very incredible as far as the video that we're going to show you here today. So we'll be showing you that here in a second. But as far as the thing itself, this is really freaky because you have military Marfoogle fam saying that they're already being put on alert and they're actually trying to figure out a system to sniff these things out. With events that have passed over the last couple of years, during CV, we had a crazy slowdown that essentially stopped up all of these ships in port. And some even said that was because they were actually checking every single container or something like that. I doubt that that's true. Of course, that caused the whole supply chain, but there was a big question back then, and everybody was talking about these container weapons. If there was 60 ships that were all stuck back there and they were from one of our adversarial countries, could they bring those right up to our coastline, essentially open them up, and then launch? We don't exactly have a system to knock stuff out of the air if it's launching from, 2 miles from where we're supposed to be defending from. We don't exactly have a system for that. So very, very freaky thought. We're going to talk about this. We're going to show you the video of what they are showing. It's considering Iran has this. It's kind of freaky. Today, but on top of the video and everything else, just to go over a quick kind of list of what we will be covering today, we are going to be talking about the shipping container-style launcher video. We're going to have the Iran threatens enemy ships. We have hot Houthi pirate hijacks ship. We have video from an I-75 plane crash in Florida. We have bunkers with fiery moats and water cannons. We have Mexican tour agency with machetes. We have man finds live torpedo. Russia to double forces on NATO border. Who's raising the draft age to 70? And of course, U.S. rejects ceasefire proposal. That's a big deal. Tucker on Moscow. And of course, Elon's prediction, no way in hell. Mansion teeters on the edge of a cliff, and much more. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Hey, what's going on? James over on X and everybody else that's watching on X, aka Twitter. We've actually talked about these. You can go over to marfooglenews.com. You can actually search in container weapons, and you will find other shows that we have talked about this. this is not so much, we're not showing you a new technology. We are showing you this because this is what they are threatening with, and this is what they are practicing with. It is something that can get extremely close to us. In theory, I mean, even if they do catch some, they might not catch all. If Iran is teamed up with China, one of the biggest shippers in the planet, then you have a really big problem. As far as all of the shipping containers that come in and out every single day out of our country, something like this could fall through the cracks. Not to mention, they could, basically racket up a ship with one in the very center of it that's surrounded and have this thing pop up, launch a missile, launch a ballistic missile. Very freaky. But first, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
I had to turn you up. We just did a show with Wages, and I had to turn him down. So totally different mics there. So Dex, as far as we're gonna pop over this video, and so first of all,
I mean, this is wild because we've talked about these in theory. I mean, we've known that they've been built. We've known that China and others have had them. I don't know that we've seen them in action, at least not at this level. And this is full production, ready to roll. And Iran is publishing this out to make sure that we know it. And it's not just one; they've done it with two, and they can use multiple different types of munitions in this, not just the one they're launching with.
yeah, and it's test launching two 1,000-kilometer DESFul ballistic missiles from shipping container style launchers. So just to show you this here, let's see. Now it looks so tiny there, but I just want to bring this back to, let's zoom in here on this part here. That is a normal, absolutely normal looking container that can pop up a missile.
Of it. Yeah, we'll get a close up of it too. That same one. They've apparently put multiple cameras on here.
Now, mind you, if this launches right off of our coast, say a cargo ship pulls up, no one suspects a thing. It's not like they have a system that can look at every single cargo ship. We also have, in the past, Iran sent a ship down to Venezuela. If you remember this, we covered this. There was tensions back then. This is way before all of this stuff in the Middle East went down. After, of course, we might have actually still been in Afghanistan. I forget if that was right after, but there was an Iranian ship going down towards Venezuela. It was a cargo ship, and the big argument was, and media and the government said, hey, that's not just a cargo ship. It's actually been outfitted as a military ship, and it's one of their biggest and best. Essentially, they've said that Iran specifically will take a cargo-like ship and turn it into basically a makeshift carrier. One of their ships actually sank, and there was a lot of sketchiness around it, and many people think that the U.S. had something to do with its sinking. But something like this, if they team up with adversaries with a plethora of ships, that is a very, very scary thought. Let me move me here. Look at that right there. The what ifs as far as it, and by the way, you can see here the tops pop up here on this video. You can see right here, if you were looking at this from the side, if this was on a ship with TVs, electronics, a couple of cars loaded up, as far as this goes, you would not be able to tell the difference. It is the exact same kind of container that they load up regular commercial goods into. As far as this goes, this has a top that opens up. I wonder, because most of these don't have a top that opens up, if they can spot these from a satellite or spot them by drone. Will that be something we will hear about in the very near future, as far as patrols actually looking at exposed top containers and see if they have some sort of crack or line in them, or heat signatures of some sort, how would they do this? If they're not nuclear missiles, then can they get away without spiking any kind of detectors? That's a really crazy thought. So let's go back to this. This is directly from Iran. This is their... So, yeah, not... It's just they show just a couple here. I don't know what's wrote on the side, by the way. There's messaging on the side. Have no idea what the translation of that is, but these were confirmed. This video is from Iran. Are they just testing it, or is this something that people should pay attention to? Let me know in the comments down below.
And Adam, so this is the coming. Some people are asking, what's the ship? So this was a merchant vessel, and they converted it. It's called the Shahid Mahdavi warship now. And it was a 240-meter long cargo vessel. They decided to convert it so they could use it for military purposes, but they left these containers capabilities on it. And now we know why. Now, that the ship alone is probably easy to track, but the thing that's so crazy about this is the capability of launching from these containers, which we've all talked about, but now they're putting it out there, and we know how much shipping is going in and out of that region. We know everything that's happening in the Red Sea right now, and let alone anything else that could happen in any port anywhere in the world if one of these just rolls up into it. That's the scary part. And again, the ones they were shooting go about, the ones you actually saw there, I think they do 1,000 kilometers. So it's a pretty long reach, even with that missile. But they also can use a lot of other capabilities in it. It's not limited to just the DES fuel type missile, which is what that one is.
Yeah. So mainly with this, it's like this should change how they look at defensive measures. If you look at right now in the United States, it's been this long time thing that everybody believes we're geographically safe. Well, I think that's kind of been chipped away, especially since nearly 7 million or more people have come in through our southern border. And now it's to the point where, I'm not kidding you, in the last couple of days, tons of videos have come out. All these media companies across the country are now putting out these fluff stories of families to quiet people going, well, if you want them here, why don't you take them in? They are literally doing that. Right now, there are these stories coming out of these families, and I don't know if they just love virtue signaling, going on the news and saying, yeah, we took in a whole family. They're just great. They're absolutely amazing. And this is the first 24 hours they've had a family in their house. One of them even said, oh, yeah, they're great cooks. They cook for us. They clean. They do. And it's like, it sounds like some other kind of arrangement. But as far as they're literally even saying, oh, we can stay with us. Now, they're not hypocrites because they're not saying, oh, let them in, but I don't want them in my house. Now they're taking them in. We'll see where that goes. But on the other hand, the non-families, the non-refugees that are just looking for a better place, those folks are from adversarial countries, and there's a lot of them. They're seeing a gigantic spike in 18 to 25-year-old men. No families, no children, just 18 to 25-year-old men in all four of the main adversarial countries coming in droves. They're coming in groups, and they're all have similar packs, similar fashion, similar everything. It's really kind of disturbing when you really look at the numbers and the statistics of it. But as far as with this, Iran, they have already told us in Pentagon white papers that 1 out of every 100 that comes from that country is one of their sleeper cells. If you just go by the sheer numbers of that, you've got a lot of bad guys that have already made it in. Now, as far as if you have people already inside of a country, you can set things up. Mind you, this wouldn't do too well if those gentlemen or those people could not get jobs and positions in places where they could set things up prehand. But that's where it comes in, where somewhere like China, which or SolarWinds comes in, which could be China, could be Russia, could be them, where they hacked into not only critical infrastructure, but they actually hacked into the HR departments of all of these companies. And these are the departments that actually make badges that give people employment history, that hire and transfer people to different companies, to different locations. So you could have say a water plant, a water treatment plant that all of a sudden has 4 guys transfer over from New York. Oh yeah, it's we've got 4 guys at our Seattle location. They just transferred over from New York. They call, they get somebody who's already in a spot going, oh yeah, you check their paperwork. It all works out. They transfer over to the treatment plant. They have all of the right legit credentials. They get badges and everything they need to go to every single part of that plant. That's where disaster sets in. And this is what we know has happened. They went specifically into those HR departments. When you get to the ships like this, if you team this up with port workers and people that are already in place, you could bring these in and have them park on our coast. All you need is a few people to turn a blind eye. Dex, go ahead.
Well, let me give you some perspective for those of you that are, I mentioned earlier, 1,000 kilometers. That's over 600 miles. Okay, that's pretty far. That's a long distance. It's 621 miles. That is almost the distance from Bermuda to the shores of North Carolina. If you wanted to strike Miami, you could be almost to Honduras, way below Cuba. You could be to any of the islands near the Dominican Republic and be able to strike America. You don't have to be right off our shores with this ship. We don't necessarily look at these ships within that range. We don't look 600 miles out. I mean, maybe we do a little, but we're looking as they're getting closer and closer and closer. Now, all of a sudden, we have a big problem to think about on shipping, that we need to be paying attention to stuff that is up to 600 miles out from our shores. That's a big deal. I mean, we're not talking about parking them off the coast. And it's easy to even think about hiding a ship in the midst of a whole bunch of other ships, especially on port cities. You see all those ships lined up out there, but you don't even have to be there. You can be 600 miles away. You can be 1,000 kilometers away. That's a long distance, and still strike a coastal city like Miami, like DC, like LA.
On the screen here, it actually has a bar from the tip of Florida to, say, Havana is less than 400 kilometers. This thing goes 1,000. So this thing could park, way down here and hit places in the United States. It could be way out here. It could be near Bermuda and hit different targets in DC. Like that's not a fun thing to think about. And, as far as you can't really do anything about it. What we can do, though, is we can start speaking up that, hey, they need to do something about these problems. What the hell is going on? Who is in charge? Is this purposeful? Like, what is happening right now? How did this get to this point? There are people that are responsible. There are actions being taken right now that are compounding all of our problems right now. It's ridiculous. And then from Iran over to Iran. Iran to hit enemy ships if its ships are attacked. Dex, do you want to go over this from Tehran?
Yeah, so Major General Hussein Salami has made these remarks this morning, speaking with the IRGC officials. He's referring to the 45th anniversary of what's coming up, but he's basically saying that and stressing the fact that they will strike anyone if their enemy ships are attacked. They're going to go after them. And I know this is hot on the heels of what we reported earlier. I think we even talked about it yesterday. We also talked about it last week and we've talked about it for a couple of weeks now, about this one suspicious military ship that they have out there that they call a research vessel, and they have it out in the Red Sea area and in the near Yemen. And they suspect that it's not a research vehicle doing oceanic research, that it's really providing coordinates and information and intel back to the Houthis so they know where and who to fire. So they're considering it an intel ship. And I think that, again, they're ramping up this rhetoric to say, don't come after that ship, because the U.S. has said, they recently claimed and classified, hey, that ship is a military ship. It is not there doing research. It's there helping the enemies that are over there shooting all of the rockets at these passing cargo ships. So they are, again, reaffirming amongst themselves, but obviously doing it in a way for the public to know that if any of their enemy ships, if they hit enemy ships, if it's attacked. So, again, big statements coming out of Iran. I think this is mostly just to understand that the ramp up is continuing. The escalation is continuing. Nothing is settled down just because we did those massive strikes through, Baghdad and Syria and other locations in Iraq for the lost lives in Jordan. This is continuing, and Israel's not doing anything to, settle things so that with what's happening in Rafah in the southern part of the strip, because it's just continuing to amplify Iran and everyone else. So we're gonna have to, we'll watch and see what happens. But again, this is the words that come out. This is the video that comes out. This is, the messaging. And I think you're gonna continue to see this ramp up.
Carol, thank you for your support. Thank you for the super sticker, by the way. This is, and just to communicate like what the consensus is. And there's you can go anywhere on X or Twitter and you can find there are a lot of really high profile people speaking out about this. And some of them not even taking a side on this, but basically saying, look at what is actually happening in Iran and in other countries in the Middle East. And look at how they're responding to specifically this last scenario. You've got Rafah with 2.3 million people in it, and it has essentially awakened everybody over there. They're saying, whoa, this is like the last straw, the straw that breaks the camel's back. At least that's what's being said. That if they go in there and do a bunch of damage to all the people that moved down and kept moving down and moved down, that is what's being communicated. The eerie part is their propaganda videos. I think they are effective how they did them, because they are very eerie. Not only just the videos, but the actions they're taking, having thousands of soldiers get up and running and in these organized fashions, singing songs, basically something you would see in North Korea, like just creepy songs. I posted it on Twitter. I'll repost it, and I'll give the link for Dex to post on tonight's show. Just watch that video and tell me what you think. And again, I'll post it at the very end. So wait until the end of the show and I'll post that. But as far as, with what is going on here, it's this is World War III. This is what we expected for 5 years. This is what us preppers, everybody called us crazy about. Now that it's happening, people can't believe it's here. But believe it, this is what's happening. And unfortunately, we're all going to see it. This is the fourth turning here. Yeah. And then Yemen, hot Houthi pirate says hijacked cargo ships, hostage taken to Yemen. Kind of a crazy one. And by the way, coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about how the rich and elite responded to Zuckerberg building his $270 million bunker. Apparently that triggered something huge. We'll talk about that here in a bit. But we've actually got information from some of the people involved. We reached out to companies about what their consensus is on how many people are going out and reacting to this. It's not good. That much we can confirm. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But hot Houthi pirate says hijacked cargo ships hostages were taken to Yemen. Yemen's hot Houthi claimed on Tuesday that the Iran-backed rebel group had taken 25 hostages from a hijacked cargo ship to a secret location on land. Rashid al-Haddad, 19, has emerged as the face of the militia after his TikTok videos on board the Galaxy leadership went viral. By the way, on TikTok, if you share a quite mild opinion about certain things, you will be taken down. But apparently, you can straight up share some T-cell stuff, and they'll be totally fine with it.
But he's hot, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah, the hot Houthis.
That's not his name. They're just calling him hot. Like, he looks good, apparently.
Look at how messed up our next generation is. While we're on that quick subject here, I posted about this group of, I believe they're Israeli soldiers. It's a bunch. I'll have to say it's like 10 or 11 people. There's one guy who keeps making the videos on Twitter. He keeps going viral because he is transitioning. He wears an extreme amount of makeup. He dances and does all of these things. Very, very feminine dances, does them, and he gets viral almost every week in full military garb, right? But his friends and his peers there, all in military garb. One guy on Twitter, I think his name is Salai Alamad, he posts all of these and says, explain. And it shows basically these 20-year-old military people doing TikTok videos. And you can tell they're on base. They're actually, working, and they're doing these TikTok videos, and they're essentially, doing dances and songs and all of these kind of things. But one thing that you will notice is with all of these TikTok videos, these same people are doing it over and over and over again. They go viral almost every time. I guess they're showing you that these are the cool people, right? It's very, very weird. And the culture around this whole thing is that basically, that anything flies for one side. Oh, and then they basically talk about how everybody is supporting these people, and everybody is supporting Osama, and the youth is being kind of trained to think that, that this side is the great side, that they're awesome. Well, you can see that in TikTok's algorithm. Whether you believe the USA is doing bad stuff too, if you look at what is being spread through TikTok and other platforms, it's very clear that they're trying to say one thing and then teach people another. The Israeli-owned vessel was stormed in November by armed Houthi rebels and now functions as a tourist destination for curious locals. In a series of calls and messages with the Telegraph, the young man dubbed Timothy Chalamet, on account of his Hollywood-like good looks, said that the crew, which includes a Mexican, Romanian, Bulgarian, Ukrainian, Filipino seamen, were, quote, safe, but they have been relocated from the hijacked carrier's living quarters to a location on land. Mr. Haddad said they, hostages, are living with us Yemenis, and they like it here. These people were taken hijacked, and people are saying, oh, this guy's he's so dreamy. He's a hijacker. Even if this is a fake propaganda story, it's like this is what people are believing now. This is what people are spreading around. This is people. And the debate is all of these people commenting are saying, oh, yeah, he's dreamy. And they think he's a great guy because he looks like a dreamy young man. Are they forgetting the part about the hijacker? Even if this is a propaganda story, you see people that believe they hijacked these people, they held them hostage, and they still support them. That's how much they hate the other side of the coin. Dex, go ahead.
Real quick, was this the one back in November that we showed, like that video that almost looked too real, like it was, like it felt like it was out of a video game? Is that the one this is? I'm thinking that was the Galaxy. You remember that video we showed? Where they like stormed it, and they, went into the cockpit, and they, dropped in on ropes from the helicopters.
Oh, you may be right. You may be right.
That was the Galaxy, because it was back in November when it happened, and I think we probably showed that in, I don't know, December or January when the video came out.
They showed chest cams of them taking and storming the bridge, right?
Exactly. I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that was that video at the time. I'm just trying to remember. Anyway, but yeah.
Like what? We are in so much trouble in the next 20 years that the youth that this has been drilled into their heads. If you talk to any youth that have been tricked into this, I said the other day, it's almost lucky when some of these kids this is really sad to say, but if all the kids that had bad attendance, that, missed out on school, that had bad grades, that skipped class, is it crazy to say that they might have gotten lucky? Like they missed out on getting trained. Because if you see what people think, it's like they're just carbon copy. If you've ever seen the movie 1984, that's what it reminds me of. The same opinions, but different facial features. Like everybody is just kind of the same way. I see it everywhere I look. Everybody I've talked to that's younger. There's a reason why there's like 0.1% that watch this show that are under 35. Those kids are all watching hot Houthis. I mean, it's really quite crazy. What do you think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of which, let's do a quick roll call. Let's have fun for a second. We're going to go back to the serious stuff. Thank you, Foogle fam. Thank you for everybody that watched the video with Wages World. Talk about the solar activity. Thank you for everybody that was polite. Every time we talk about the sun, solar activity, solar flares, there are definitely going to be a crowd that doesn't believe that what's going on above us. I don't blame you. But again, I don't think we can really solve that argument yet until we're all either traveling to space or they admit they can't. But as far as everybody that was polite, everybody that was awesome and kept it really nice, including Trinity was here as a mod. Leo was here as a mod. Thank you guys. And I thought you said, and of course, Chance and Jammer both made it. And I thought you said Rip Curl was there.
Rip Curl. Rip Curl's there tonight. Is here tonight too. Yeah,
thank you, Rip. Shows. I appreciate you. Remember, you can also go find all of our mods over at marfooglenews.com/friends. These are all people that I think almost every one of these has been here at least 4 years. They're part of the community. They know everybody. They are very, very helpful as far as if somebody's like, hey, how do I get here? What is that creator's name that I saw on the show this time? Almost all of them can answer those kind of questions because they're all either regulars or have been in the past 4 years. Some 5 and 6 years. So go to check him out. Wages World, his channel, get him to 60,000. He deserves it. He works really hard. He's a very genuine guy. He's always helping somebody else. Trinity always puts so much work into her videos. Ilea is just a sweetheart, always trying to help, if not helping humans, helping animals with her animal sanctuary. She just went through that horrible storm and her sanctuary got torn up. You can find her link tree if you want to go support her over there. And of course, Rip Curl has great content. He's out of Oregon. So go check him out. Let's see here. We've got Norcross, Georgia in the house. Lone Wolf, thank you. Next Exit. East Tennessee. We've got Lord Andrew, Grand Bargains. Kathy MC, nice to see you. Shastina, it's super nice to see you. Keefe D, what's happening? Paul Saul, Peggy C from OH. Ohio. We've got Northwest Indiana in the house. Upstate New York, Susan Big. Old Combat Vet says ancient. What's going on? Comet Moon, I already did it. Beat you to the punch. Comet Moon, thank you. Buffalo, New York. We've got Coffee County, Tennessee. I feel like I've heard that Coffee County is really pretty. Tennessee. Am I right? Is it like not like so much the scenery, but the architecture in the towns? Let's see here. Texas, Honey Draskell. Let's see here. Keep in 66 from Idaho, famous potatoes. Let's see here. Maryville, Tennessee. John McCarter. We have a Marysville here as well. Trinity, Red or Blue Pill. Hey, nice to see you. Spokane, Washington. I talked at length with David Reed and Laura last night. I hope you guys, I'm sure you guys will pop in at the shoutro there. And Loves Cliving, WIS Gem. James Dameron from Backwoods, Appalachia. That's one place I do want to go to, Appalachia. In fact, we covered a story on how Appalachia may be one of the places to go during the end of the world. No joke. And I'm a Star Baby says, hot Houthis shaking my damn head. Yeah, I don't blame you. Garden Grove, California. We've got all sorts of great people. San Diego. Lots of folks from Florida. We've got South Australia. Stoplight. Nice to see you again. Courtly James. Hood Canal, Washington. And Demiopolis, Alabama. And Alberta, Canada. Got some, at least one Canadian here. So that's awesome. And Christchurch in NZ. Who was that? I know we've had old school Foogle fam from Christchurch. They updated us when all that stuff happened. Really crazy stuff. Let's see. And then Stella Ortois from Nebraska and Jeremiah's. Thank you. And just quickly, I wanted to say thank you so much, everybody that has subscribed over the years, whatever show, or maybe you watched for a long time and you finally said, "Oh, I'll hit the subscribe button." Thank you. You're not a sub to us. You're not just another screen name. You are really appreciated here. And I have always told any of the creators that have either started up, inspired to make content through our Creators Corner, or we're in our forums. I've always told them that I cannot stand when people say subs, or, I got to get more subs. I have never been able to stand that. I think it's the least tactful thing ever. I feel like when you look at what every milestone, people say, I only have 10,000 subscribers. If you look at 1,000 people, if you look at 300, one time I had to do a speech in front of 300 people when I was 16, and that was Benaroya Hall. It was a big venue, and I could not believe how many people that was. I was so thankful at my first 100, my first 300, my first 1,000, my first 10,000, whatever that number was. I imagined a room in real life. At 50,000, you're at a football stadium, much like what we just saw. I don't know if that was closer to 100,000, but imagine Super Bowl Sunday. Speaking in the middle of that stadium, that's 100,000. And I hear people complaining that they only have 100,000. That's insane to me. I'm so very thankful that those of you that actually go out of your way to find us and, hit the notification bell and all that, I'm so very thankful that you guys are here, that you continue to dip around the algorithm, which does not suggest us anymore, to find us. So I just want to say thank you. Otherwise, again, we wouldn't have been able to make it through the last couple of years of adpocalypses and everything else. So thank you guys, and much appreciated. Dex, before we move on, just real quick, marfooglenews.com/EMP. If you haven't protected yourself against an EMP, really simple way to do it. I mean, if there is a way to do it, I don't know why people wouldn't do it other than monetary means. If you need to save up for it, they're not expensive. When you consider what it does, you buy it once, your car is protected. You buy it once, your generator's protected. Think of it as an extension to your generator, an extension to your car. I mean, I can't tell you how many people get stupid packages like engraving on their windows in case their car gets stolen for $800. Somebody can scratch on their window, but they won't pay a couple $100s to protect it from an EMP. This will keep you running so you can get home to your family. If you work far from family, it's a no-brainer. If you have your bug out spot and it's far away, how are you going to get there if your car doesn't even start? So this is a very, very simple device. Red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, green to ground, and you're done. Bolted into the side of your engine block. Right now, the EMP Shield didn't get us combat back. We're going to talk about our story here in a second about how the bunkers and the bunker business just skyrocketed. And of course, part of it's from war. Some say it's from something else. Something is going on. But again, EMP Shield didn't get back to us, but Energy did. We'll talk about that here in a minute. They'll tell us what they said about how many people, what the spike is on people getting things for bunkers. But EMP Shield are going really fast. So please make sure if you can't get the original, go check out the micro. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Every single purchase not only protects you, it helps independent media like us. And again, but most importantly, share our stuff out with somebody who hasn't seen us. And Naples, Florida. So Dex, we talked about this the other day, but the update is absolutely insane. And we actually debated on this live when all this was going down. And we said, well, why did they go with the traffic instead of, or why did they pick one versus the other? And there's a video of it, and it's insane.
It is, and I almost don't know if he's even able to pick because this thing looks like it's coming in super hot. But he did. It obviously landed with the flow, and I think some pilots also said that's typical, unless the highways are just absolutely empty and void of traffic. But trying to land with the flow as opposed to head on into it would probably I don't know. It just seems like it's the safer approach, if there's anything safe about this. But obviously, what happens here, not safe at all. So yeah, this is the story we covered. This is an update, but check out the video from a dash cam. It was posted over on Roz Alerts, and it's out there in a couple other places too.
So here the plane is coming in right here. It connects, and I'll zoom in here and go back. Let's see here. Let's go back to the beginning. You see it popping in the side. Now it's coming in. It's about to connect with the road here. And then watch this. So this is really insane. Boom. Slides across, hits the border, explodes into just an absolute giant cloud. And did we, by the way, we didn't have the correct update. We had the correct update, but it wasn't updated. Did the person in whatever car was hit, did they lose their life? Did any cars perish?
When you watch that playback, and I was watching it here as you played it again, it doesn't look like he actually hits any car. It maybe the wing clipped one of the cars. Now, one of the cars from the fast lane does look like it veers over to the slow lane, probably out of panic. And I'm sure there was some other cars that may have been involved just in the whole, slamming on the brakes or dealing with, all of a sudden there's a plane in front of your car. But I do remember and recall seeing there was another video out that showed 3 passengers actually got out of the plane, but the pilot and co-pilot did not. So they that's my understanding of the update.
Well, it is very, very sad to see the actual thing go down. And what's even more sad is it's almost looks like if the conditions were right, if just one thing was different, or if there was a 10-minute gap because of metered ramps, like these people could have survived. You get my meaning? Like, even if there was some sort of jam up prior or a small fender bender, it could have slowed things up to where there was a big enough gap for this person to fit in. It just didn't work out. And it's praying for the families of those affected in that crash. It was really bad. And U.S. billionaire survivalist bunkers go absolutely bonkers with fiery moats and water cannons. So here's the other thing. So Dex, we actually reached out. Do you want to let them know what happened and kind of give the update on what they're talking about here?
Yeah, so we'll go through some of the details of this article, because I think there's a lot of good stuff that we could talk about, and fun stuff too, just like as the headline calls it out, fiery moats and water cannons. But the interesting thing is the amount of increase. Now, we've all been talking about the increase in bunkers, people like Atlas and others who have grown dramatically over the years because there has been this uptick. But there's been a specific event, which was the showcasing and the reveal, or at least the release of information that came out about Zuckerberg, that specific time period has caused almost a run, if you want to call it that, on bunker building. Now, to verify that, we reached out to a couple of our friends, and one of them was able to get back. So it was kind of last minute, so I didn't expect to hear from them, but we did hear back from the folks over at Energy. And the quote from them is that Energy, they have confirmed that they have seen a huge increase in demand of solar generators from bunker buildings specifically. Not just, obviously they've got a demand for their own product. I'm not going to say that. But the question I was asking them specifically is, do you see this? Is this happening since, as they're reporting this article, is there a big turn up all of a sudden because of this? And they said, absolutely. They're seeing a huge turn up for these bunkers, and not just that they're seeing it for the bunkers. Obviously, they're involved in the sense that they outfit, and get build orders and stuff like that for their equipment. And my assumption is EMP Shield is going to tell us the same thing. I'm waiting to hear back from them, and they'll probably talk to us soon. But if I get something while we're in the show, I'll let you know. But the point is, it's not just a flashy article that's written, just to sound good. There's a lot of truth in this, in the sense that we're able to corroborate that with other vendors out there that actually supply parts or supply components like solar generators and solar panels and stuff like that, that these bunkers are going to be buying.
Also, a Foogle family member that they do the doors for the huge doors. They do all sorts
Blast
of ones.
doors.
Blast doors that slide, blast doors that close, blast doors with giant hinges. He said that it's not even quantitative. They cannot. Last year's meeting, they said we just need to. They focused their meeting. They had a meeting about 4 months ago. They said that they were going to talk about the quantitative boost. They said that they couldn't even go over that. They said we need to talk about overtime and hiring more people. That's what they went over. They were supposed to go over different things like what was entailed with what's going on with this, but they said they couldn't even do it. They had to worry about 10xing their new employees. So with this, and they're sort of relating this, is this because somebody like Zuckerberg and what was the rapper? There was a big rapper, Rick Ross was, Tate. The Tate brothers have just built a bunker. There's all these folks that have been building bunkers, but they're kind of relating it to, everybody knows Zuckerberg made this $270 million house with a giant bunker. And this is the same Zuckerberg that has a slide at his office in California where if an emergency happens, he can jump in a literal slide, like at a water park, and it slides down to his car or his driver down in the garage so he can get out. Same guy did this, and they're kind of relating that to that this huge boost is because people are like, hey, Zuckerberg's doing, we should do it. My line of thinking is, or Zuckerberg and everyone else that is now doing this, they have a tip on something that we don't. If you've seen Leave the World Behind, it's kind of crazy, but he talks about, these guys got a heads up. In that movie, they theorized, they're like, well, what if nobody's actually running it? What if the best you can really ask for is just a warning, a heads up, and everybody's kind of on their own when this stuff goes down? Maybe that's how it is. Maybe they just got a heads up. When you look at everything that is going on right now, you have the comments by the richest people in the world. Those same richest people in the world that are making these comments are the same ones with bunkers under every one of their properties, like Mr. Gates. They are the ones saying that in November, it's not even going to happen. That by November, things are going to go south, that we're going to be in a civil conflict. Now, I'm sure everybody here hopes that this doesn't happen. And I'm sure everybody here has some wishful thinking saying it's not going to happen. But I do know that a lot of you are more realistic than that and realize what is happening. You have to be blind to not see the division that is being built on every block of the United States. And this goes global too. In every country, the same playbook is being put down. Doesn't matter whether they're speaking French or Swahili. There is a left-right divide, young versus old, this color versus that color, this religion versus that religion. Every last country right now is going through the same thing. Oddly enough, though, majority of this is happening in our allied countries, not the adversarial. Dex, go ahead.
One of the stats in here, this is just phenomenal. It's one from one of the bunker builders. The guy's name is Hubbard. I can't remember which company he was, but here's the part of the article. Due to global demand, bunker air filtration systems, which run about $3,000 to $10,000, are becoming scarce, says Hubbard. So he bought up 711 of them in December. That is more than he has purchased in 13 years combined. So 13 years in business building bunkers, he has never purchased more than 711 air filtration systems. In the month of December alone, he bought 711 of them.
Okay,
and that's to keep up with the demand right now.
So that's Ron Hubbard, right? No. That might be the guy from Scientology.
Yeah. We're not talking about him.
He probably has
Rewind,
one too.
Take back.
Wait, what is his first name? No, his name is Ron Hubbard. His name is also named Ron Hubbard. But that's Atlas. That's the guy from Atlas. He went in an interview. Is that really the same name? Anyways, he went on what was it? Extreme Prepper? Oh gosh. City Prepper? No. He went on Canadian Prepper and he did an interview, and that was an interesting one because he was talking about those filtration devices. And if you saw this episode, then you know. He talks about the filtration devices and how the government, they are buying from the same people. Now there's eminent domain. Is it eminent domain or imminent? Eminent domain, where they can grab it in between. But really the stuff that they were grabbing, it sounds like they were trying to grab that stuff before somebody else snagged it up. Ron also said that he is building government bunkers as well. One that's a government/civilian bunker, and I think it's for the Netherlands, or I don't want to say the incorrect one, but there's one where he's actually the government. He's not building it for the government. The government has leased like 2,000 square feet or 2,000 capacity out of this humongous giant bunker. Ron is one person where you can see the quantitative growth of his business. I've watched his channel for a long time. He used to do a lot more YouTube because he was a small company. Now you have seen him just absolutely explode. He's doing bunkers. He traveled like 11 countries in like a month or in a year or something. He was going everywhere. And that's, there are public things out there about many countries that post about Ron. So, he's not just making it up that I got customers everywhere. He really does have these customers all over the place because there's very few companies that do these kind of these custom things. So, and he's just the one that's actually outspoken about it. He also said one of the 5 richest people in the world he built a bunker for. He said a lot of things that really could get under your skin, because once you realize that it's most likely true, it's very disturbing. Dex, do you want to point out, you had one more thing? Yeah. There's 2 more things to point out in this one.
There's some crazy stuff. So in Mumbai, there's a $4.8 billion residence/bunker being built. The shelter can withstand a blast 1 mile from ground zero, but it also has water cannons. There are water cannons that can take down parachuters, Apache helicopters, whatever is coming its way within 500 feet in the air. I mean, that's some insane stuff. And they cut tunnels through with flamethrowers and gassing systems, steel walls that close midways that could stop a 16-wheeler going 80 miles an hour with bollards on both ends. I mean, this is massive investments on these bunker systems for these rich elite folks, and they're all doing it in a hurry. And I think that one was supposed to be completed by 2025, although it sounds like a lot of it's already completed. So still a work in progress.
And you see so this is another thing I noticed, these very, very large millions of subscribers channel that do other things. What's his name? JerryRigEverything. I've seen, so JerryRigEverything, by the way, is a bigger channel. Most of you have seen his content. He's torn apart Samsung phones or built a Lego crane, from just random stuff. He does all sorts of different things. He and his wife, very, as far as I can tell, genuine, really nice guy. He has connections. You've seen him do videos, collabs. He's been invited to several things. I've seen him with several high up people, and you've seen the collabs he's done, and it's like he's building a bunker in his backyard, and he's actually, I believe he's done now. The people that are connected, you see a pattern on who is building the bunkers. These aren't crazy people with bird nests in their beards and big overalls sitting in the backwoods going, who's coming after me? These are normal people. These are responsible people. The kind of people that schedule out their day in 30-minute blocks or 5-minute blocks like Elon. These are the people that are preparing. The Bill Gates, the Zuckerbergs, the rich and elite, they are building bunkers. Meanwhile, it is not okay for you to do it. It's taboo for you to do it. You are crazy. You think something's going on. The whole world's against you. Meanwhile, since 2019, look at where this world has gone. And things have happened that we never would have thought would have happened in such a short amount of time. It's obvious that somebody is pulling at the joysticks and trying to crash the plane. I mean, does it not seem like that? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of which, thank you, Carol. Again, thank you. Becky D, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Fed Up in Indiana, thank you. Appreciate that. You can always write something there. And then Carol, thank you again. We have Heath Spear. Thank you from Australia. Back-to-back super stickers. Thank you. And then Jerry Shirts says, my wife has firsthand witness, was headed northbound and she felt the flames. Only 2 people passed away. A miracle. No one perished in the cars. Okay. We've got firsthand knowledge there. If again, I'll just I will assume you are telling the truth there. Again, we take everything with a grain of salt, but Jerry, I believe you. So nobody in the cars perished. If your wife was truly there, that is absolutely insane. That said that she felt the flames. Jet fuel's hot, but it's not that hot, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Well, that is pretty crazy. As far as the moats and the fiery moats and stuff, I actually had a friend who brought in cars, and one of the cars he brought in had flamethrowers on the side of it. It was a G-Wagon. Not kidding you. This was the cool, like, it was cool. They had so many different things. So if you touch the handles, if your hands were on the handles and they pushed a button and it was custom, they had this thing done up to the nines. You could not tell it was not stock. You could press a button that was built into the interior. They had somebody do it so custom that it looked like Mercedes-Benz made it into it. It didn't look like somebody slapped a deck into it and cut out a hole. This thing was done to the nines. You pressed a button on the dash, or there was one in the back seat that could be accessed. If somebody was touching the handlebars or the handles on the door, it would tase them. If somebody was about to get in, there were flamethrowers that would spray out the sides of the car. It was made I believe in South Africa, not South Africa, in Africa, where people get basically robbed of their cars. They get carjacked. So that's what these things are for. In some places in the world, they have to have those kind of deterrents. But he got it, and basically you can't. He had to go through. I remember I didn't get the update from that, but he didn't know if they were going to be street legal, if he could keep them on as long as they weren't used. I never found out if he was able to sell it like that, or if he had to remove that, because I don't think you can flamethrow people in the United States, but who knows? Self-defense is self-defense. Imagine some of the scenarios you've seen on viral videos if they had flamethrowers or tasers on their handles. Maybe that's where we're headed. Idiocracy world that we're in.
Well, and that flaming moat, though, it's true. That's one of the islands for that guy. He put in a 30-foot deep lake around one of the islands for the bunker, and he has a lighter than water flammable liquid that floats on top of the water so that he can light it on fire anytime he wants and continuously feed it.
That is so nuts. Stephen Uan says, off to work. Love y'all. Stay salty. God bless all of you. There's a chunk of people that say, oh, this is scary. You're scaring people. If you're scared of this stuff, then you are skipping steps. This is a prepper channel. We talk about way worse than this on a daily basis. Like, if you're afraid of this, then don't watch scary movies. If you don't like watching scary movies that make you panicked inside, you're an adult. You don't have to watch scary movies. You can go watch a comedy. You can go watch something else. That's the awesome part about the freedom to watch what you want to watch. Use your time how you want to watch. Some people take it even further than criticism. It's to the point where they have to make sure they tell everybody, don't watch this. It's scary. It's fear-mongering. You don't have to watch. Nobody has to watch. Nobody is required to be here. It's all voluntary. Everybody's adults here. I would feel like if somebody was telling me not to watch something, I'm going to watch it 10 times more because somebody's telling me not to watch or listen to a certain person. But that's just me. What do you guys like? Let me know in the comments down below. Fake Mexico tour agency accused of shoving the people up with the machetes. I don't know why I went bow rat with that, but very disturbing thing. I guess it's, yeah, I guess it just had to go bow rat on that. Yeah, Dex, this is really disturbing.
It's just super disturbing from a cartel point of view. So basically, they've arrested 6 members of what they're calling a drug gang, but it's at a Mexican resort in Cancun. They were running a tourist agency, but it was literally fake in the sense that people would call up and order, they offered sports equipment, tour packages, all the little touristy things you'd want to do. They would just take your money and not give you anything. And I guess if you showed up and complained, you might have gotten something you weren't looking for, like a machete. But they ran, a drug operation. They had the entire taxi system. I can't remember what they called them, the motorcycle taxis and miners. They had all of them, like a little network of them that were all interconnected with one another to make sure that they knew when the cops were coming or anything was coming. So they pretty much were running the entire section there in Cancun. And they had all these lookouts and stuff. But yeah, it turns out, obviously, once they got Cancun, this is where everybody goes to vacation. A lot of people go to vacation. Now, I've not been to Cancun, but anyway, a very famous tourist destination. And, it's just unreal to think that this is how it was being run, like inviting tourists to come get tourist packages and extorting them for money, taking their money, as well as running other operations like drugs and other things out of the resort and using the little taxi guys on motorcycles to deliver them for them. But nonetheless, I guess once they crossed over the lines and got really nasty with what they were doing, they finally pinched them and they've been arrested. But man, talk about a scary type of situation going on in what should be probably one of the crown jewels. Any of those cities that are very big tourist areas for Mexico help their economies so much. I mean, I know the locals there that are,
that's their livelihoods.
If they have this kind of press or this kind of activity going on, it drives away people, and then they dry up and they don't make any money. So I know Cancun's a really major hotspot in Mexico for tourists.
Even as a teenager, I remember my friend went to Cancun. I couldn't believe how dark he came back. He came back like he didn't look like a white guy anymore. He was brown when he came back. So tan, it was insane. I remember thinking, gosh, that must have been nice. Go to Cancun, sit in the sun for a week. As far as Cancun and this goes, what do you want to bet this is going to turn into a movie? I mean, this has a movie wrote all over it. This has a horror film wrote all over it. And the scariest part is I bet you the local authorities let this go before it got to this point. I bet extorting, all of that, as long as they were paying off the cops, this was totally fine. I bet you it probably happened before and they knew about it, but something slipped in their system, something got out. So, they ended up taking the life of the wrong person. They didn't stay quiet about it. Watch, I bet we'll find out, the wrong person disappeared and then just they never stopped asking questions. Like, this is terrifying to not only to think that this whole system, this is straight out of like I would say would it be Carpenter? I don't know which author does. This isn't even Stephen King. This is like really just disturbing. I was thinking Misery, kind of like, you go on this picturesque tour and end up getting held and then never come home. And everything from getting in the taxi to, some young kid giving you a package like, welcome to the resort. And then you never make it home. That's horrifying. All right, and then from Cancun over to New York, man stumbles into a torpedo with an unsettling blinking light. So not only imagine like stumbling on a huge torpedo that obviously most people are going to go, that's a torpedo, but then seeing a blinking light on the damn thing. That would be the kind of thing like, see ya, exit stage left. Did it show? Yeah, it does. So look at this. I mean, it's not like you think that's anything else. That looks like anybody that's seen any amount of 5 seconds of any submarine movie knows what the hell that thing is. That is a torpedo. And not only that, it had blinking lights on it. So just imagine finding that on the beach and realizing that it may be live. Yeah, check that out. I guess if you were Navy and have been on a submarine, you'd go, oh, maybe it's safe, or maybe you have to mishandle it for. But why is it on a beach? That's what I don't understand. Did they launch something and then it grounded itself?
The comments, Adam, like he posted this on Facebook, and like the comments that people were saying, like, did you hit it with a hammer? Another one says, did you throw rocks at it to see if anything happens? So
Check if it's American, throw a rock at
it. Some good friends there, I would think. But it actually turns out there's a military testing facility there. And it was, I don't know what kind of device it was. It's called an MK39 training device. And because this is a lake, it turns out this is a lake. It's a shore of the lake, but crazy. Like you're going out on a walk and you run into this. I mean, and then not only that, it looks like a torpedo and it's got blinking lights on it. You're freaking out, right? I would be. I don't want to be freaking out, but I wouldn't be like kicking it or throwing rocks at it. That's for sure. Or even smacking it with a hammer. I'd be like, hey, somebody needs to come pick this up because this thing could go off.
The wrong person finds it. Oh, it's just a really big lawn dart. Gosh, that's be hard to throw. Let's try. The part that gets me is that it's on a lake. It must be a giant lake. And then what do they have? Do they have submarines there? Or is this a thing that they can drop in and launch from a small boat or something, like some other kind of thing? If it's a torpedo, it's got to be launched from something, right? Is it launched from a boat? Why are they testing it in a lake?
Looking it up, it says an MK39 is an expendable mobile anti-submarine warfare training target used in training and simulation acoustic dynamic characteristics of a submarine. In other words, it functions like a dummy submarine that a target that sailors would use to train their detection and tracking and weapon skills. That's according to the Navy's official release on what this is.
So this goes through the water and their weapons think that this is the submarine. So it's not even really a torpedo. It's like a test. It's like a fake submarine torpedo, right? That's what it sounds like.
So they claim. Now, looking closely, you zoomed into that picture. Are those just like regular Phillips head screws in the side of it?
Yeah.
I mean, is that because I would start to second guess when I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute, is that military grade screws? You can just take my Phillips head out and I can just unscrew this torpedo.
American made. You can pop it open with a multi-tool. Maybe it's Swiss. They made sure that the casual Swiss Army knife could open it up. Those are they're Phillips head. You know that like actual really dangerous torpedoes, they'd most likely have, some sort of, I mean, at least a Volkswagen screw on it, so you need a special tool. Damn Volkswagens. And Estonia, Russia may double forces on NATO borders, Estonia warns. Dex, do you want to go over this one?
So for those of you that don't pay attention to the map here, folks, if you're not really familiar with where Estonia is, it's at the very northern. We've talked about Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania there together, sort of being the tripwire, as they call it. Well, what they're specifically pointing out is at the northern border, there's something like 19,000 troops there already from Russia's side. They're estimating or expecting, I guess, according to their intelligence, that Russia is bringing in up to 45,000 troops on that northern section. And when you look at Estonia on the map, there's a big body of water there. So it's really like that very northern portion of Estonia that they're talking about. So on one hand, this is their intelligence assessments based on the movements they're seeing, the troop maneuvers, and et cetera that's going on. And on the other hand, they're also signaling as a NATO member, just like every other NATO member has, we're all preparing for, an invasion from Russia. So we've heard it from, Finland and Sweden and Germany, and there's so many I can't even remember them all now. They've all sort of said, "Hey, we're expecting,
Netherlands.
this." Yeah, Netherlands. All of them have said it, so they're adding themselves to the list, so to speak. But they're also coming out and saying, "Hey, we already have 19,000, or they already have 19,000 Russians on the other side of this northern border," and their intelligence is saying that it looks like it's going to be coming up to about 45,000 troops. And this is their signal to NATO to say, we need more troops on that section. Otherwise, we're not going to be prepared when they come in.
So, and again, this is now Estonia. You have, and back to the map here. You have Poland, you have Finland, you have Germany, you have Netherlands, you have Sweden. You now have Estonia. We've covered the Czech Republic officials that said something about it. You have France making their comments. I guess we'll see. Oh, and Norway. Norway is training their citizens. And then I feel like I'm missing one. What? Or maybe we've already covered that one. Is it Netherlands? Where is Survival Lily from? She said that they're doing training as well. Their grocery stores are training civilians, and the officials have told people to have extra food, water, all of that stuff over the last couple of years. So, but in just the last couple of months, they have said that this is going to happen. Meanwhile, Russia's going and getting interviewed by Tucker Carlson. Basically, had the run of the interview. Tucker got very few words in, but one thing was pretty clear. He said, "I have no motivation to go take the rest of these states back." But he also said, well, I don't need to go into Ukraine. And he said, "Oh, it's just a drill," and then went in. So you can't just because you don't believe the U.S. doesn't mean you need to believe Putin either. But also, folks look at this like Putin may be pushed into this. There might be a Fantastic Freddy that ends up starting it all off. Yet another to add to the list. Before we move on, again, you have 2 more days. The Harvest Right sale, it is the same as they did on Black Friday. They actually did this specifically. Again, this was it's kind of a rare thing for them to go anything over a $300 off. Now they're at the $500, the same as the Black Friday sale, and they did it for a very short time. This is for their freeze drying, Harvest Right freeze dryers. And up until the end of 2/15, so in 2 days from now, and I think that ends at the end of 2/15, you can still get the $500 off. So make sure to go over and check that out. If you've been waiting to get a freeze dryer or have been saving, it's definitely a good time to do it. I don't believe that they're going to get cheaper, even if they do end up in a year doing a $500 off. The prices on technology or anything like this has gone up. It's had a steady curve, obviously because of chips and everything that goes into anything electronic. Again, that has gone up. All of the materials go up. So it is definitely a good time. I wouldn't say that if it wasn't. Again, especially since now there is the largest sale since November. So again, go over to marfugglenews.com/freeze. You can freeze dry your own food. It can last up to 25 years. Not only that, you can do your own dietary restrictions. You can save all of your food from your garden, and you can package what you want to package. It keeps in almost all of the nutrients. It keeps in almost all of the flavor. Just add water or cook in water, and it restores it back to its original form. Now, again, I'm sure after 10 years, freeze-dried steak isn't going to taste exactly the same, but it is going to have the same nutrients, and it's going to have you survive. Again, a lot of stuff that actually people prefer freeze-dried. There's a lot of really awesome freeze-dried snacks. It's an entire hobby. marfugglenews.com/freeze. You help support us, you help support yourself, and you help support independent media at the same time. marfugglenews.com/freeze. Made out of Utah. All right, and then Kremlin, Putin to raise age of military service to 70 as dad's army deployed to Ukraine. This is now, Dex, when I first saw this, I wondered, like, is this real? They're really expanding it up to 70. There's some 70 is, now 70 is like the new 90. or no, 70 is the new 50, right? Sorry to
So
anybody
they
that's
say,
70.
I guess.
Yeah, but 70 is the new 50, 50 is the new 30, 30 is the new 11. I don't know. But you get what I'm saying. And a 70-year-old being able to go up and join and fight on the front lines, that's kind of nuts. Dex, what did you think when you saw this? And this is confirmed, right?
Yeah, it says the statement was released from the Ministry of Defense. Quote, Russia is proposing a draft legislation to raise the age of the military contract personnel, including those that were recruited before June 2023, to age 65 and 70 for officers. So it's not frontline, although you do have officers that can be on the front line, guiding men or guiding troops. But I got to imagine in my mind, they're thinking, some intelligent 70-year-olds that they have and they want to bring them back, or they want to enlist them to do things, around operational things, not necessarily on the front lines. But who knows? Maybe it's more than that. But yeah, that's the at least that's the statement coming from the Ministry of Defense. So, but the quote is for officers, but nonetheless, that's a pretty, I don't call that people that are 70 old, but it's certainly not an age that you typically think of as, being active in
Well,
anything
65
significant of the military. Yeah, 65
is
is
a senior
retirement,
citizen.
typical.
And by the way, there's lots of 75, 80-year-olds here that are active and that jog or walk every day. I'm not, no. And now, when you're young, you think everything is old. Now nearly 40, anybody 70 goes, you're still a kid, right? But as far as 70, it's not frontline age. And it makes more sense that these are commanders. Like, you could be in the military until you're 90, 100. Heck, politicians are. You're not going to be on the front lines. You're going to be doing more of the logistics. I just love the stock photo they found for this. Looks like a Russian MASH or something. Like, what is this? And look at Gomer Pyle up here on the top. What is he doing? This is a ragtag bunch. What does this guy have? Like a chimney brush or something? What is that? A spear? Is that PVC pipe? And this guy means business. Apparently, standard issue is not even a 3 pitchfork, but just 2. That's a pitchfork. This guy has apparently just a bar. And it looks like this guy has a kimono, or like a ninja sword. And then that guy, he's just confused with a broom. So I don't know where they got the stock footage, but for older soldiers, that's what they use. That's pretty funny. And it's on the back, not of a truck, but I think it's just a wood, like, treehouse or something that's in front of a bunch of old garbage. I don't know. But they definitely made the message like, when you think of Russia, think of a bunch of morons. Kind of the drift I get. And then Turkey, over to Turkey, U.S. rejects Putin's proposal to cease fire after meeting of mediators. According to Russian sources, U.S. rejected Russian President Vladimir Putin's proposal for a ceasefire in UKR to halt the war after talks with mediators. Again, that's coming from Reuters. According to a fourth diplomatic source, Russia initiated the unofficial contacts between the Russian Federation and the United States through intermediaries. These contacts did not appear to result in anything. It says a U.S. official said that he was unaware of informal contacts through intermediaries. According to 3 Russian sources, Putin's signal was relayed to Washington, where senior U.S. officials gathered, including White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, CIA Bill Burns, and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. According to one Russian source, Sullivan planned to speak with Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Yushakov, to determine next steps. However, when the call came in January, Sullivan informed Yushakov that Washington was willing to discuss other aspects of the relationship, but would not discuss a ceasefire without Ukraine, according to one Russian source. U.S. official declined to provide any information about Sullivan's alleged phone calls, as well as whether such a conversation occurred with Ushakov. As far as believing Russia, you got to take everything they say with a grain of salt. But as far as the U.S., it sounds like their MO to basically keep everything non-transparent and to do something like this and say, oh, no, well, our military industrial complex is raking in the dough. Yeah, we're not going to stop now. What are you kidding? Everybody and their mom's buying last-gen fighters from us, Got to keep it going. But who knows? Who knows what's really happening there? But they're saying that there was an option for some sort of ceasefire, but apparently didn't work out. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, just rewinding. That image you were making fun of earlier, it's from an old British television sitcom called Dad's Army, which was the reference in the headline, I guess. We just don't get the British humor here in the States. But yeah,
I thought it was funny.
I guess that's the reference. I had to look it up.
Why did they why did they use that for the stock photo? I guess I get it. Dad's Army. Now I want to look it up. Maybe go to the library and try to grab it. All right, and then let's see here. Over to Dubai, the World Government Summit. Something's going down there. Dex, go ahead.
So this World Government Summit, let's call it, was, I guess, a symposium or whatever. They, a lot of people there speaking. But one of the people speaking was Tucker. And if you didn't see it, I'm sure you can go find it on X or anywhere. Matter of fact, if we need to, we can put a link. I'll put a link on the website. You can find it. Where Tucker was interviewed. And it was the first time he has spoken since the Putin interview. And in that interview, I thought it was really insightful to hear what additional things he had to say about it, and how I don't remember who the person was that was interviewing him, but it was another person from another country, was specifically digging at him a little bit, but rightfully in a proper manner. I didn't think it was too crass as you might have expected from others. But one of the things that came out of there, and of course the media is just latching onto this, is, Tucker made the comment like, hey, I haven't been to Moscow. I've never been there before. And now that I went there, I couldn't believe how, it was eye-opening for him. I think the term he used was radicalizing, in the sense that he went to the city, that it was clean. He could walk around. It was hustle and bustle. Everyone was friendly. It wasn't full of crime. It reminded him of the way our cities used to be, as he was referring to. And he was referring to the way, New York or Chicago or any of these big cities that we used to have, these really big, lively cities. And now we're, you go to a lot of our cities, like you and I were talking earlier, Adam, about, going to downtown Seattle. It's boarded up and it's pretty, overrun with people that are not in the best shape of their lives, so to speak. And I don't want to talk down upon anybody, but you've got people that are messed up with fentanyl and other things like that. So he was sort of he was trying to draw this correlation, not to say that, Moscow's a great city, but it was just, or a great political system. But now the media is they're using this as a way to go after Tucker. But fascinating interview, really interesting perspective that he was given. And he didn't just use Moscow. He actually talked about other cities that are like that, like Dubai, and others that are, they all have different political systems. And he wasn't trying to necessarily prescribe that those political systems were good. It's just that they didn't allow their city to run to the ground. Well, and their cities were run in a way that they were clean.
Well, let's just put aside any kind of bias of any kind. Is it the truth? That's what we should be looking at. Is Moscow a nice looking city? Is it run nice? Whatever the system they're using, if they're using communist laws that if you get caught doing a single crime, then you're getting in super trouble and ending up in a supermax Russian prison. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know. I don't live there, so I don't know what it's like. But what are they doing to have the streets are clean, this and that, if that is true. It is Moscow, it's the capital. So maybe they treat it nicer. What if they cleaned up like San Francisco did days before Xi got there? we made it look like, it was such a beautiful town. But people that live there know it was disgusting before that. There were tents in every inlet of every business. And then, days before, they spent a huge budget to clean it up, to power wash everything, to kick out all the homeless. Is that what Putin did
They
for
were
Tucker's
literally
visit?
putting lipstick on a pig with that one.
Yeah. I mean, San Francisco is worse than Seattle. Everyone I've talked to, family members down there, and Seattle's bad. As Dex said, we were talking about it, and ever since 2019, when they had all the looting here, I actually did videos. I went and interviewed people. One of my best pictures as a photographer was a photo of a woman standing with a frying pan out in front of her bakery. And this was in Bellevue. And she's sitting there with I think like a broomstick and a pan. And it's a black and white of just her like sitting out there. And there were people marching a few streets down. And then about a block over to the mall, they were looting it. There was hundreds of people. They emptied all the stores they could. They emptied the Lego store, the Nike store, all these stores, under the guise of, activism, right? But the local businesses, they protected their street, and everybody on the street, every owner was out in the street, basically saying, you're not coming this way. They had people set up at the street corners. They said, and nobody called that racist. Now they call if your neighborhood, if there's a march or a riot or something going on, and if you block your neighborhood off, many comments in the media saying that that's racist because you're not allowing activism to go through your streets. You're protecting your neighborhood, basically a neighborhood protection plan type of thing. But these people, it was no joke. I mean, I was down there. I was in Chaz. Do you remember when Chaz got shut down? I did not feel safe there. It was like I saw another guy down there that had a big camera. I had my DSLR, which I was extremely worried about because I don't have the money to get another DSLR. I had my DSLR, and if they found out, hey, that's the guy, he's right leaning, that's what I felt like. I was like, if I'm on the wrong side of the bias thing here, there were no police. There were no cops there. There were dudes with, guns at the freaking entrances. It didn't, it may have felt safe if you're on one side, but even people on that side, they got beat up there. They got in lots of things. That one guy died there because the cops didn't respond in time. And I think they're settling that in a civil court. But things like that, when I went down during all of this stuff, the Seattle's never been the same. Not to mention, at the same time, the skyrocketing use of this new stuff that's come out, it has turned people into zombies. And I know that there's people watching right now that are on the stuff. It's everywhere. And I'm not saying you're a bad person, and I know everybody gets caught up in something or other, or they have a vice. This vice, it's really sad because the people that once they try it, they can't get off. It's a demonic thing. That stuff is so powerful, so deadly. I mean, what other stuff can you perish if you touch the stuff on accident? If you touch the wrong amount, you're gone. And it's everywhere. In every major city, you see people just not even like back in the day, you had, what's his face? The blind pianist. What is his name? Charles? Ray Charles. Ray Charles, they say believe it's him that was on heroin, and he would be on the piano and he would be leaning almost all the way over, and then he would come back up. And they said that was him, like, nodding out. The people on this, they don't just nod out. They don't like lean over. They're just on the ground. They look like they're perished, or some of the times they are. And I pray for you if you are dealing with that. Again, there's great channels like the Lifeboat of people that have recovered from stuff. It's a really, really rough thing. And there's one way we're not going to fix it, though, is basically have a free way to have a ton of it get in. We know where it's being made. It's not being made here, along with antibiotics and other important stuff that should be. And we know how it's getting in. And there was somebody there that was going to stop it, but that was like completely undone. Why? That's another thing about the refugees coming in. One thing I pointed out on Twitter, it's really strange to me, like places like Chile, all the articles in the last couple days saying, "Oh, we took a family in from Chile. We took a family in from Venezuela." All these places, these other countries that are having just absolute turmoil that the refugees are coming from, they're all having horrible disasters. The storm that hit Puerto Rico just absolutely decimated it. Chile, the fires, right? All of these events make people homeless. And you start to wonder, like, what happened with these events? What happened with the hacks that had their whole grid go down and hyperinflation that turned their country into horrible, horrible place to live? It's almost like it's all part of something. You start looking at the disasters, and when the Puerto Rico storm happened and it just demolished everything, do you even remember that? I know that a lot of you probably didn't even see it. If you were on Twitter on a daily basis, you saw it, but it's like they barely covered it. It was just a fleeting moment, and this hurricane or the storm just wiped out. Half of buildings were just gone. Places were just demolished. Nobody talked about it. Everybody was talking about something else at that time. I forget what was popular, but UFOs, this, that, and nobody was covering it. And then you start thinking, like, how are all of these people coming here? Is it just for 20, 30 years they thought, oh, we'll go to America. Now they're going to do it? Or did they get put in a position where they have to go move, or they don't have a house anymore? Is that part of a big thing? If it is part of a big thing, did they put people in a position where they wanted to come up here because they had to? It's very strange, to say the least. A lot of odd things coming out of the Chile one too. People painting certain things on top of houses and things. It's crazy. Weird stuff. And Boca Chica, Texas, Elon Musk urges U.S. not to send Ukraine aid as no way in hell Putin loses war. Well, what is he saying? At this point, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money because you're just going to be fighting the monster. By the way, thank you, Stephen McMahon. Sissy Jean, if it all hits the fan, I'm going back to my roots in eastern Kentucky, Appalachian Mountains. No one comes up those hollers. Ha ha ha. So yeah, that's where they have the hollers, right? That Appalachia, now I know what I'm thinking. Appalachia is one of the places that one of the places in that Appalachia's died. That it was a fascinating town where everybody, the people that lived in a certain part of it were all 80 and above or 70 and above. There was no young people, and there's no jobs there. Everything closed down. But they talked about like how if you go up the wrong holler, somebody will take you out. Depends on if you're a local or not. This, that, and the other. So yeah, Appalachia's. I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was a beautiful place with the nature around it, overgrown stuff in that one place. I can't remember the name of that town. And then let's see here, Viv B. Alex from the Duan spent a month in Moscow in late summer, fall. It was nice and clean. He made daily videos walking around. I guess the thing is, Viv B, though, is why is it so clean? Is it clean because it's such a good working system, or is it clean because that's high priority for them to look kind of like a North Korea thing where they have the grocery stores look like they're full, but they're not actually really full? They could have all of the streets clean, but then people could be starving behind the scenes. I don't think that that's the picture either, because a lot of folks say in part their system works pretty well. But it's still, of course, America has its pros and its cons, but there's a lot of things broken here. That's for sure. And I'm sure there's probably things that are broken there. Dex, as far as Elon Musk saying that, there's no way in hell Putin loses war, he might be right. He was
speaking out in advance of the Senate vote. So the Senate was voting on this $95 billion spending package, which includes $60 billion for Ukraine. and he was making this statement, I guess, to push his position or at least urge the senators not to pass it. Turns out the Senate did pass it. Now it's got to go to the House because this was a Senate bill. So it started in the Senate. It'll go to the House. The House, they call it an uphill battle. But keep in mind, though, even in the Senate, 29 on the right side flipped over and voted with the opposing side, with their Democratic peers. So to fund this massive package, this $95 billion package, which sends $60 more billion over to UKR. So anyway, we'll see how this winds up. But when you get a person like Elon making statements like this, it runs headlines for sure. And he has been known to stick his nose in political business from time to time. He's not been one to be shy of it. He has his opinions, and they're not always on the right or on the left. He tends to be in his own position. But in this one, he seems to be more of the opinion of a lot of people on one side, which is stops wasting money on this. This funding this war in Ukraine against Russia. It doesn't seem to be a winnable position.
It seems like
And
now.
you would think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say, you'd think that history would tell us. I mean, if you look at every other war we funded that never ended up winning, we ended up just spending all of our money on it.
I was going to say, it seems like after the Disney thing where all the advertisers pulled out, it's like after that, he's not even pretending to not be, fully right-sided, right? He's every comment. He if you look at his Twitter, you'll see he's been nonstop talking about the border, about this, posting almost all of the stuff that he's posted is the right wing pundits, the right wing accounts, all of that. And has he been like that the whole time? But he was always trying to balance, trying to be in the middle so he could run his businesses and kowtow to basically riding the fence. Did he give up? Does he not care? Or is it all part of something bigger? Is he doing it so to be the enemy of half and the hero of the other? Is it a trap, right? Have everybody follow him into a pit of despair. And then California cliffside collapse in mansions that just fell right off. Before we talk about that, do want to remind you, if you haven't checked out Energy, this is our recommendation for a solar generator. It is expandable. If you can think of it like Lego bricks, right? You have your main top unit, and then you have the batteries. You can expand this up to 96 batteries. They all connect. Highly recommend going with the tactical. This one was actually designed with the Air Force Research Laboratory. This direct unit, it just won the Phase 2 contract with the Army. So it's actually going to be heading out with the U.S. Army. They care about one thing. Will it work? And will it work every time? That's their main thing. And again, when you look at this, not all solar generators are equal. People look at price, people look at features, but when you're looking at lithium technology, when you're looking at this kind of technology, you want to make sure it has the finest components, that it's going to work when you need it to work, that it's not going to have some technical glitch that in a SHTF or a storm that you need to go and figure out how you're going to either go get a new one or get it fixed or do this. You want it to just work. It can get power from solar panels, which you can, of course, get folding panels. They're very easy. There's no technical knowledge. There's no on-off button. You have a solar panel that you plug a cord into it. It starts getting power. If you want to have multiple solar panels, you daisy chain them like Christmas lights. They create the power. So it's just a panel, cord goes directly into it. You got power generating. Otherwise, you can charge these just like your battery bank that you use for your cell phone. You can charge this as a giant battery bank, have it stored up, keep it at 99 or 100%, and then when the power goes out, turn it on and run your stuff. It's an incredible unit. This one has 1,500-pound latch system, heater built into every battery, reinforced steel frame. It's water and dust resistant, of course, built-in ground. It has a 1.5-inch hailstorm impact rating, which is, you could say, as far as the toughness of how this is built. It's built like appliances used to be built. The main reason, again, too, that we did not go with any of the competitors that were expandable, that were modular, that you could add features in later down the road, like add in UPS, add in rapid charging, add in all these things. The ones that compared to this were directly made by a company that basically was a front, directly tied back to a certain country that controls most of the lithium and could very well put back doors and things. So again, this is one of the best companies out there. It was one of the most coveted. It's again, one of the best companies out there. So go check it out. marfugglenews.com/energy. There's the only con right now, the only downside right now is that you have to wait. If you cannot wait the time it takes, because it could be a 3 to 6 month wait to get yourself the initial unit, and who knows, they could say tomorrow that they've got huge batches in. The only downside is that wait. Other than that, I would say if you can't wait that long, if you say, I need it tomorrow, I would not get it solar. I would go get yourself a gas-powered generator, use it until you need it, and then when this comes in, try to sell that gas-powered or keep it as a backup, or sell it and try to get most of your money back. That's what I would do. Go marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Why I think solar better rather than gas. It's silent. Nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away. You can be a gray man. It doesn't take storing gas or going to a gas station. If the power truly goes out, gas stations aren't going to pump. Water's not going to pump. These things are not going to be around. So this is a really good thing. You don't have to store flammable fluids for, and it's portable, or it can be stationary. marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. So check this out. This is crazy. There's a video of this, and did we attach the video on the website?
It may be in the article when you guys link to it from the website.
I don't know if I see
even our map. If you go back to the map, we found the actual house. You can see you can almost do a before and after of it between this picture here where everything's slid out, and you go look at our map. You can see the original land there.
How scary would that be to be in your house and your entire house just starts falling? That is terrifying. So when you go over here to this, it's like this house and this house, I believe, are gone. The whole front of this part is gone. It just falls right in. And the side view, which was even crazier, it really looks freaky. Now, did any of the houses actually fall? I felt like the video
No, I think
shows...
that the one they're referring to in this picture hasn't fallen yet. It's a $37 million house.
Wow.
That is, the cliff is underneath it has fallen. If you look at the house on the left, that's really fat and wide. You can see the whole cliff there that's just eroded away from this massive rainstorms that they had. And it's all the way up to the edge of the house now, where the next thing to go is going to be the way to that house. It's a slightly different angle, but it's the same house there on the left. And they got more storms coming in, apparently.
$37 million. How do you spend that much on, like, that? You know that they don't use 99% of that house. Even if they had a family of 10, they can't use all that space. It just shows you like what the importance is. Like if you had money, let me ask you this. If you had, say, $200 million and they said, hey, you get an extra $40 million just to pick out a house, would you spend, or you could spend that $40 million on traveling the planet, doing whatever you want, buying a business, this and that. I guess that houses do go up in value, so it's an investment. But like something like that, would you rather spend your money traveling the world? If you were given the choice, travel the world or buy a house that's 50 times bigger than you need, what would you do? I personally would travel. I would buy 40 houses in 40 different countries and buy a plan B, a golden passport in 40 other countries, right? I would buy a golden passport in 20 countries and $1 million house in 20 countries rather than buy a $40 million house. I guess I've never felt comfortable in those giant houses. They're cool and everything to like visit, but I wouldn't want to live in one. Creepy and echoey and not fun. What do you guys think? That's a communist thing to say. Have a house as big as you want. It's America. I'm not saying don't buy it. You can do it. I'm saying, what would you do? What would you do? I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm saying, what would you personally buy? If you want to buy a house that's $80 million and as big as a football field, go ahead. I'm saying I personally wouldn't. I'd rather travel the world. I wouldn't spend $40 million on a damn house. Like, that's stupid. That's just my opinion. Again, if, you know, it would be cool to have a tennis court or, you know, things like that. In fact, if I had a mansion like that, most of it would be outdoor stuff. Like, it would be a pool, a basketball court, a tennis court, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't have 17 rooms if I only have 2 or 3 people coming over. Like, that just seems like a super waste. Not saying you cannot, you can't own a house that big. Own a house as big as you want. I would rather buy an apartment building and rent it out to, 60, 70 people. Be the same kind of money. Dex, go ahead.
There are, just for what it's worth, there are 562 mudslides in Los Angeles, and 15 homes so far have been red tagged. Now, not all 15 homes are necessarily these 30 or 50. I think these 3 homes was how they came up with the 37 million. I think they were like 15 million a piece or something. But nonetheless, there are people who live on the sides of hills, maybe not on the edge of the ocean and have, multi-million-dollar homes, but who possibly have had their house red tagged, which means the land has slid out from under it so much that it's unsafe and they can't go back in and they can't rebuild. Well, I guess you may be able to rebuild, but the house is not structurally sound anymore. 562 mudslides from this. What do they call it again? Some sort of atmospheric river. That's that new term they like.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
use.
atmospheric river. Bill Fortenberry says buy it, but then rent it out and then take your trip. That's a good idea too. Yeah, keep it and then lease it for. It's crazy that celebrities will like lease a house for $500,000 a month. Like, imagine making enough money to where your monthly rent is $500,000. That's what most of us are looking at, like entry level house to get a shack. I personally, you know what I have, and I know it's totally against everything right now, because most of us look at these tiny homes and say, yeah, they're trying to get us into these tiny little homes. I'm just saying, personally, I wouldn't mind a tiny home. If I didn't have multiple kids, I was thinking, you could put 4 or 5 of those tiny homes and basically have the main house or something be like a yurt, have 5 tiny homes as everybody has their own bedroom. Those tiny homes I've always been fascinated by, because I was always fascinated by really cool campers and RVs that had everything inside, that they had the space efficiency. I always thought it was cool that the table would turn into the bench and that you pull out the stairs and there's storage. Like, that's always fascinated me. I would totally, if I was on my own and didn't have kids, I would live in a tiny house right now. I would live in one with a little loft, with all sorts of cool things. That would be cozy for me. I'd much rather live in a small house than a big house. Again, though, it's up to personal preference. What would you rather live in? Would you invest your money in businesses and stuff like that, or even other houses that you rent out and live in a tiny house? Or would you buy a mansion and spend a lot of that money on bills? I don't know. Dex, go ahead.
What, speaking of renting out rich people's property, weren't we watching, you and I talking about or watching a video? I think it was Branson's Island or something. $140,000 a day.
It was Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah, he went on that. Yeah, he did the island tour. Mr. Beast did, but one of them was Richard Branson's, like, I don't know, $150 million fancy island with the states all over it, but you could rent the island for $140,000 a day. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts. Um, asked if I feel okay. I actually have well, I actually have several kind of health things. I've been better actually, but I have immune stuff that's going on and gut stuff going on and all sorts of things. So I'm very blessed to have when I have my really good days, I feel really blessed. I just feel blessed even on my bad days that I can get up and not be, doubled over in pain. So I'm actually doing great right now. So thank you for asking. And and what's weird is I feel like since CV, a lot of people have been in my same position, and that's really weird to me. And I didn't get any enhancements to my body. But I did get what they said was that thing, and it did feel like, man, that thing was grown or something. I know because of what it did to my nose and what was coming out was something I've never had in my entire life. I don't even want to describe it. It was so bad. But ever since then, that's when all of my health troubles started. So, yeah. And then let's see here. Yeah, so many great folks. Thank you over on D Live. Thank you, and thank you. Bug Nana, Beer Juice. Thank you for gifting a subscription to Bug Nana. Thank you. Kimbria, Light of Vibes. Love it. Beer Juice, 3-Kid Mom, Kimbria, Fractured Fusion, Beer Juice, Everdays, Kimbria, and One Up B, because you can't take it with you. That is absolutely true. Welshman Mitch, thank you for hosting it as well. Yeah, I have my off days and my on days. My good days, I absolutely feel great. My bad days, I still keep it trucking. Don't know if you guys have noticed, but I was missing a lot of days because of my health, and I really haven't missed many days at all because we don't have understudies. We don't have a backup. We've been 5 days a week for a long time. I think we've only missed a couple shows, maybe in the last 5 or 6 months or something. So that's a good thing. So prayers answered. All right. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Make sure to go check out Wages World's video over on marfooglenews.com. You can easily get to it just by going to our website and clicking on the thumbnail. Thank you. Much love. Tonight, again, we'll be heading over to Shoutro over on Jams. If you want to follow us, just stay in the chat and you will be ported over. Viv B, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody that supported tonight. It looks like Carol is our top supporter tonight. So thank you, Carol. You are our top supporter tonight. Thank you. We'll be giving you a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shoutro. It's a shoutro. Everybody on the bola, la. Dee da da, I said a boogie woogie and a carrot, you know this, and a gasi, makai, no. Let's make a fresh one for Carol. Don't.